Yeah, 141 pounds got pretty interesting after the Big Ten tournament when the number one seed at Big Ten's Mikey Carr ended up sliding all the way down to eighth. So it definitely created a lot of chaos in terms of how rankings worked. Surprisingly, the guy who took most advantage of that was the guy who beat him in the quarterfinals, Chad Red. Got his way went all the way to the finals there. Ended up losing to Joey McKenna, only to be seated 16th right here, which is pretty unfortunate for him as far as draws go. So I'll go through all the matches and make my picks here. Not going to go through the pigtail, but I'll take Yanni to beat the winner of that. Then between Parker and Red, this is going to be a tough match for Chad Red, but I think he's coming on at the right time. He is a past All-American. I think he's going to be able to get the win over Parker, but this won't be an easy match. It'll be a pretty close one in my opinion. Then we'll have Demas versus Moore. These two haven't gone against each other before, but I'll pick Dom Demas to win that matchup. And then between Fine Silver and Kane Store, I will take Kane Store. Again, these two have not gone against each other either. So then in the round of 16, we'll have Yanni versus Chad Red. I'll pick Yanni to win that match. Tough matchup for Chad Red. And then between Demas and Store, I will take Kane Store. And then between Yanni Giacomohalis and Kane Store, I will pick Yanni Giacomohalis to win and earn his spot in the semifinals. So that covers the top quarter. In the second quarter, we'll have Ironman versus Davian. Ironman has not gone against Davian this year, but I'll pick him to win that match. Headley versus Kelly. Another match where there is no history between the two of them. Kind of tough to pick, but I'll take Headley in this one. Then we'll have Shoop versus Finlay. These two haven't gone against each other before, but Finlay has been dealing with some injuries later in the year. Kind of injured out of the Big 12 tournaments. Honestly, it might be kind of surprising if he even is able to wrestle in this tournament, but if he does, he won't be at his best, and I just don't see him beating Shoop here with that being the case. So we'll pick Shoop. And then in the final one, we have Shi versus Albert, another match. And a lot of these first round matchups, there's no history between the two guys. There's actually only three matches in the first round. So of the 16 matches, only 3 of them are between guys who've actually gone against each other before in college. This isn't one of those, but I'll take Josh Albert to win that match. And then between Ironman and Headley, I'll take Ironman. Ironman has actually gone against Headley a couple times. Ironman's 2-0 with wins by the score 15-5 and 12-6. Most recent win was actually last year during the national tournament. So I'll take Ironman here. And then between Shoop and Albert, these two have gone against each other a couple times. Albert's 2-0 against Shoop, a 16-3 win, and then an 18-3 win, both in the scuffle. So I will take Albert to beat a guy who he's been pretty dominant against in the past. And then between Ironman and Albert, these guys have gone against each other twice. Ironman has won 2 of the 3 they've gone against each other 3 times. Ironman's won 2 of the 3. But Albert did get a win pretty recently by the score of 4-3 this year. But I think Ironman has been looking pretty strong towards the end of the year here, so I think he'll be able to avenge that loss and be able to go 3-1 against Albert by the end of this. So I will pick Jaden Ironman to advance to face Yanni Giacomohalis in the semis. All right, now towards the bottom half of the bracket, we got Lee and Limix. These guys actually have gone against each other. They just have one previous match with Lee winning by a score of 12-6. This was back in January, so I'll pick Lee to get a win here as well. We have Sedarian Perry and Morris. Perry is a guy who had a fantastic year last year, actually ended up getting all the way up to All-American. But as far as this specific matchup goes, these guys have gone against each other before. It was this season, and Morris won by a score of 6-2. That was back in November. I'll pick Morris to win this match again. So even though Perry is a previous All-American, I just don't think this is a great matchup for him. So if he's going to work his way back to the stand, it's going to have to be in the back draw this time around. Then we have Tristan Moran versus Max Murin. Moran and Murin, though they're in the same conference, actually didn't wrestle each other this year. But I will pick Moran to get the win here. Murin looked okay. He did have that big win over Mikey Carr at Big Tens, but Carr seemed to be losing to everybody, so it's kind of hard to tell whether that's good Murin or bad Carr. Although to be fair to Murin was pretty close to pulling off the win in the duel earlier in the season against Carr, but ended up losing it late. And then speaking of Mikey Carr, you have Sparacchio that he will be going up against. No history between the two here, but I think even though Carr has been sliding of late, I'll pick him to win this. So that puts Lee and Morris in the semifinals. These guys have no history together, but I will pick Nick Lee. And then between Moran and Carr, these guys do have a history. They've actually both been able to beat each other. Carr had a win on it's a split, so they've gone against each other twice. Carr beat him in February, but then Moran beat him at the Big Tens by a score of 9-4. That is the more recent result, and the way that Carr performed, it seems like he's probably dealing with some kind of injury, so I'm going to assume that he's not going to be 100% in this match. And as a result, Moran will be able to beat Carr again. So that leaves Lee and Moran. These guys have split. Moran has a 12-10 win over Nick Lee, but Lee has an 11-3 win in the Big Tens over Moran. So I'll pick Lee to get that win again, just because he was so dominant more recently, getting the major decision. So that puts Nick Lee into the semifinals. And then on the bottom quarter here, if it'll let me do that, we have McKee and Krivas. These guys have no history together, but I will take Mitch McKee. You have Turner versus Gill in Wyoming. Again, another match, no history between the two of them. I will pick Gill in this one of Navy. Cade Brock versus Brian Lantry. This one, there is a history between the two. Cade Brock has a 10-3 win over Lantry back in NCAA's last year. I'll pick Cade Brock to win again, even though he's had a pretty rough year where I think Murin might be the only ranked guy he's beaten to this point. But this is a guy who he has beaten in the past in Lantry, so I think he'll be able to get the win here, especially since that last one was pretty dominant, almost a major. And then between Willits and McKenna, I'll take Joey McKenna. So then we'll have Mitch McKee and Gill. I will pick McKee to win this one. There's no history between the two. But I've been pretty impressed with Mitch McKee this year. And then between Cade Brock and Joey McKenna, Brock's one of those guys who seems to find ways to upset guys he's not supposed to beat. I think we all remember his freshman year when he beat Cody Brewer, but McKenna's been looking really strong of late, and I just don't see him losing this match. So then we'll have McKenna versus McKee. These guys have gone against each other once. Joey McKenna won that by a score of 8-0, and I think he'll get another one here, so that will move Joey McKenna on into the semifinals. So then to go back to the top half of the bracket, that has a semifinal match between Yanni Giacomo-Hollis and Jaden Ironman. So Yanni and Ironman. These guys have gone against each other before. They've actually gone against each other 3 times. Yanni only has one loss in college, and that one loss is to Jaden Ironman. But Yanni's got a 2-1 lead in the series between the two of them. So as far as how all the past matches have gone, the first time that they went against each other, it was a 9-6 win for Jaden Ironman on December 30th of 2017, so that was last season. Then in the NCAA tournament, it was a 6-4 overtime win in sudden victory for Yanni Giacomo-Hollis. And then this season, they went against each other again, and it was a 3-1 win for Yanni. So I'll pick Yanni to win again, moving him into the finals. And then in the other match, it will be Nick Lee and Joey McKenna. These guys split this year. But McKenna actually had another match with him in a previous year, or it was last year. So the results were 5-4 Joey McKenna in the Big Tens. We have 7-6 Nick Lee, which was in February this year, and then a 7-6 win for McKenna last year. So these have all been 1-point matches. In that way, it's a bit of a coin flip. It can go either way. But I'm impressed with Joey McKenna. He did just win Big Tens, and it's going to be hard to go against him. So even though Lee is a very live underdog here, I will pick Joey McKenna. So then we would have McKenna versus Yanni. This is a match that we already had back in February. Yanni won that match by a score of 7-5. Was in control pretty much the whole way through, and I think Yanni will be able to duplicate that effort and get the win at 141 and become a 2-time national champion.